Hello, hello, hello. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be. Welcome back to my channel, my Loverlies. If you've never been here before, thank you so much for clicking on my video. I am so happy you found me. I do so hope that you will like and subscribe before you leave. Become part of the Mama family. Mama's got your back, at least where makeup's concerned, and definitely when that makeup is cheap. Guys, today is True Love Tuesday. We're talking about a good one this week. I'm super excited. I just am in a good mood today. You know when sometimes you just wake up and the day hasn't necessarily gone exactly the way you wanted it to, but you sit down and you play with your makeup and it just looks so incredible. You can't help but be in a good mood. That's the kind of day I'm having so far. Y'all, I got up this morning. I got my entire house clean. I reset it from the weekend. Everybody was here all weekend, so the house was absolutely destroyed when Mr. Hubby and Sean went back to work and school today. So I took the whole morning. I deep cleaned everything. I got my bathrooms done. I got my dishes done. I got laundry done. I even cleaned my son's bedroom. Teenage boy moms, I need your advice, opinion. What in the world do I do? I cannot. He'll kind of clean his room and he'll like bring his dishes out and things like that. But getting him to do anything else is like pulling teeth, right? And then we're at the point now where he is, he's just hateful. He's just hateful all the time. And he's my only child. So, I mean, the only one. I've been through like teenagers before because I do have two pretty much fostered older sons. But with him, it's very different. With him, it is... He just, every time he speaks to me, I am nothing but an inconvenience. It is the most annoying thing, not frustrating. Frustrating is the better word for it. It is the most frustrating thing, and I'm this close to like losing my mind. I honestly just don't know what to do about it anymore. I like, anyway. If you guys have any advice about that, I would really love to hear it. Please let me know in the comments. I try to speak to him and I try to explain things to him as clearly as I can, but there's just a miscommunication that is just like, and every time we speak to each other, it's an argument. He gets defensive and he argues with me, and I'm just like, I'm to the point now where I just want to pull my hair out because I just don't get it. I literally just don't get it. Why is me just saying, hey baby, why is that so irritating to you? Why is that so frustrating anytime I ask him okay, I could talk about this for absolutely ever, so I'm gonna stop, but it is a lot. Anyway, today's True Love Tuesday. Make sure you have a big old glass of sweet tea, a thermos of water, maybe even a cup of hot coffee. Make sure you have just a few minutes to sit down and chat. Oh my goodness. Make sure you have just a little while to hang out with me. We're going to be talking about Benatar and Neil Giraldo. Not exactly sure how to say that last name. It is Italiano. So I'm thinking it's like Giraldo, maybe? Let me know in the comments. Either way, we're talking about Miss Pat Benatar, queen of rock and roll. I love her. I love her. I don't know a single person that doesn't love her. She had a big resurgence. Remember that movie with, what was her name? Gardner. Jennifer Gardner. 13 going on 30. You remember when that movie came out? I remember watching that movie and loving it with my entire being. And you know, her song We Are Love. Love is a Battlefield was a big song in that movie. Anyway, love me some Pat Benatar. We're going to talk about her today. Hopefully we're going to sit here and have a good time, play with some makeup, and just kind of have a wonderful little chill sesh. My hair is absolutely out of control. There is nothing that I can do with it short of wetting it down and braiding it so it's just like out of my face. This is kind of what we're working with today, so I'm just going to go with the wild theme. This is the eye look that we are creating today. I think it is gorgeous. There is something about this gorgeous, like, vivid green with those super warm, almost orange tones that just makes my heart melt a little bit. We're going to be using the Huda Beauty Topaz Obsessions palette, and then we're also going to be using a couple, one of my Shop Miss A loose pigments, as well as the Shop Miss A waterproof eye makeup seal. So we're going to use these two. We're going to paint it all over the eye, and then we're going to top it with a little bit of the Beauty Bay liquid eyeshadow. This is in the shade, it is from the Dark Fantasy series. It is the green one. There is writing on the bottom, but it is so tiny and so dark that I can't read it. But it is the green one from the Dark Fantasy series. I will, of course, list everything that I'm using for my eye in the description box below, because I don't usually talk too awful much about the makeup I'm using in these videos, but everything will be in the description box, as well as the links to my other socials, because I always post finished pictures over on Instagram and Facebook. I also have a reel and a TikTok coming on this eye as well, just in case you want a little bit more in-depth kind of whatever, it's coming. If you guys, as always, have any questions, just let me know in the comments and I will get back to you. So jumping right into this story, I am talking about Pat Benatar and Neil Giraldo. I don't know. So backstory on Pat. I, of course, if you guys see me looking over here in this direction, it is because my notes are over here, and I make sure that I have these on hand because my memory is a sieve and I can't retain information for the life of me. You know, kind of is. I've got mom brain. So over here, my notes are over here, so I don't lie to you. Also, I need to do my nails today, so I would love to know, like, in the comments, maybe help me pick a color. I think it is one of the hardest things is trying to decide what color to do my nails. I would love to know what you guys think. I'd love to know what color you guys would pick for me. So into the story. So Pat Benatar, she was born in Greenpoint, Brooklyn. She is a born and bred New Yorker. My family actually come from New York as well. My mother, she was born in New York. She was born in Syracuse. I know that's not what we're talking about today, but my mother was born in Syracuse, and my father is from Pennsylvania, believe it or not. And then they both met in Florida. It's amazing how people can, you have to like travel to the other, to another end of the country to meet up when you're just like right there. But anyway, she was born in Brooklyn. She was born January 10th, 1953. Her maiden name is Patricia Anderszewski. There are a lot of letters in that last name, but it's I think it's Anderszewski. She was raised in Long Island, and the way her career kind of began is because she went to a Liza Minnelli show. So right out of high school, she gets married. She gets married to her high school sweetheart. His name is Danny Benatar. Dennis Benatar, and because he was drafted or was in the army, and ended up she didn't want to lose him, she didn't want him to leave her, so she ends up packing up her stuff, getting married, and they end up having to move to Richmond, Virginia, where he had been stationed, and during this time she is basically doing what everybody else does, right? You get married, you get a job, you start your life. So this is what she's doing, and she just kind of, she is a bank teller, right? Can you imagine Pat Benatar as a bank teller? She was a bank teller, and at this point in her life, she's just really not happy. She's not happy. She's not really digging what she's doing, and she's just kind of looking. She knows she likes to sing, and she knows she's good at it, but she's not exactly sure that's what she wants to do with her life. And then all of a sudden, one night, her girlfriends invite her to this Liza Minnelli show. And this is when her life changes forever. She goes to this Liza Minnelli show and is like, you know what, I can do that. If she can do that, I can do that. There was just something, and if you guys have ever watched Liza Minnelli, or if you guys are familiar with who she is an absolutely phenomenal performer. I love me some Liza Minnelli. She was also on this show, is an older show called Arrested Development. I adore that show, and she kind of guest stars on it sometimes. She's just the funniest freaking woman ever. I just love her. Oh, okay. I'm not going off on Liza Minnelli, but that's a great video idea. Anyway, so she goes and she sees Liza Minnelli, and it kind of knocks her socks off. She's like, wow, I want to do that. That's what I want to do. And the very next day she goes and she quits her job. She packs her things, and she moves to New York. Now, she doesn't move to New York quite yet, but she packs her bags. She pretty much is like done with the whole wifey, normal job kind of thing. She wants to be a rock and roller, and that's what she sets out to become. So she kind of starts singing. She starts out as a lounge singer, and she's singing in nightclubs and things like this, just trying to get her name out there, just trying to get basically any work that she can. And then she becomes a regular at a very famous comedy club, and it's called To Catch a Rising Star. And she becomes a regular at this comedy club, and very shortly thereafter, she finds her style. She finds, she figures out that the spandex and the, you guys know what Pat Benatar looks like. She finds herself as an artist, and she eventually gets signed to Chrysalis Records. And that's pretty much when she meets Neil. Now, a little bit of backstory on Neil as well. So Neil is just a couple years younger than Pat. He was born Neil Thomas Giraldo on December 29th, 1955 in Cleveland, Ohio. Again, from two very different backgrounds. Anyway, he received his first guitar at the age of 6, a very, very gifted guitar player, and started playing at a very, very early age. And then after that, he learned to play at the age of 12, I believe. At the age of 12, he learned to play the piano, and then very shortly after that, learned to play the drums. So he's somewhat of a musical savant. He's just very, very good with instruments, both the guitar, the drums, and the piano. He's just really, really talented. He's also a very gifted producer and songwriter, things like that. He just has a mind for music and is very talented when it comes to composition and things like that. So he kind of like started out his music career. My eyes are so watery today. He started his music career at the age of, I want to say 14. Yeah, at the age of 14. He would accompany his uncle to, what was it, a nightclub? Was it a nightclub? Yeah. He would accompany his uncle to nightclubs, and he would play for his uncle while his uncle sang. And he would basically be his uncle's band, right? And got very, very good at it. And then he ended up joining another band, and they had some pretty good fame, but he was having problems with the fact that he wasn't getting any recognition. He wasn't getting any recognition for what he was bringing to the band. His name wasn't really getting out there, and he said in an interview that it wasn't really all about the recognition, but they just weren't. He wanted to create a new sound. He wanted to do something different. He really wanted to leave his mark on rock and roll. And it had always been his dream to build something from the ground up. But he said even in interviews that he had never imagined that he would be playing guitar for a woman. And you got to really think about the fact that women weren't really, like, in the rock and roll scene, women weren't really there, which is why Pat Benatar is so incredibly special, because rock and roll as a whole is very male dominated. And Pat Benatar, she can just belt it out. She could just, like, oh, her voice gives me goosebumps. So he was just kind of looking for something new. He was looking to help build something, right? And this is when they meet. So he started his professional career. Began his professional career in 1978, and then he met Pat in 79. So basically a year after he started really trying to get into the music scene and really kind of start building something, he met Pat. So he met Pat really, really early into his career, which is a great thing, because then they were very much able to grow together. And really kind of, they didn't have to unlearn a lot of things. They weren't ruined for each other yet. So come 1979, Pat has been signed to Chrysalis Records, and her manager, her producer, my allergies are terrible, so I'm sorry if I sound stuffy. But her manager, he hired her, and the minute he hired her, the minute he signed her, fired her entire band. He was like, no, we want something different from you. See you later. Bye. So here she is. She's just a singer. She's all on her own. And then they have to go through the process of rehiring a band for her. And of course, it's rock and roll. And one of the most important parts of rock and roll is the guitar. The guitar is the heart and soul of rock and roll. So what do they need? They need an amazing guitarist, but they also need one that isn't going to mind working with a female, because back then, like I said, again, a very male dominated world. And like I said, not a lot of men really wanted to play for a female singer, right? And Neil very much felt that same way. But people, I guess their people knew each other and were like, I think they'd be a great fit. So they bring Neil in, and Neil was actually a very, very good looking man. And a very edgy looking, just as Pat was. And he comes in, and Pat said when he came in to audition, he didn't even bring his own guitar. He had to borrow somebody's guitar. He basically just, he didn't care. He didn't care. And she kind of liked that vibe, right? Because she very much kind of exuded the same kind of flippant kind of attitude, right? So he comes in, he's like, oh, let's just get it done. And then he's kind of realizing that, oh, it's for a female lead singer. He's not really super interested, so he's not really trying. But Pat sees Neil, and she is instantly smitten. She is instantly smitten. Like I said, he's super, super attractive. And she's like, I don't care if he can play or not. He's in the band. Now, like I said before, Pat was married. She got married right out of high school. But she is at this moment in the process of divorcing her husband. Dennis actually became part of the music community as well. He became more of a producer and things like that, more of behind the scenes kind of person. But they just weren't really, they married young, and she's said multiple times in different interviews that she knew she had made a mistake the minute she married him. She knew that he wasn't her forever person, but she did what she thought was what she was supposed to do, right? So she's in a process of divorce. And Neil, unfortunately, he is in a relationship as well. He was dating actress Linda, what was her name? Linda Blair. Linda Blair, if that name sounds familiar to you. She was actually in The Exorcist. Yeah. So he was dating Linda Blair, and their relationship was actually going pretty well. So there was no hanky-panky in the beginning. It was strictly professional. But she was smitten with him nevertheless. And he thought she was pretty cute too. But so he goes, and they progress into this audition, I guess, right? And all of a sudden he hears her sing, right? And he said the minute that he heard her voice, he knew that there was something different. There was something special about her. She just has such a signature sound, right? And the reason that their people had tried to put them together was because they wanted to push Pat, because they knew that she had that vocal ability. They wanted to put her with somebody that would really push her, and picked the exact right person when they chose Neil, because when they got together, it was instant chemistry. But it was instant chemistry not only, you know, like, ooh, I think you're cute, but it was instant professional chemistry. They just worked well together. They kind of thought the same way when it came to music. Neil knew what buttons to push for her. He just pushed her. He pushed her in a way that wasn't aggravating it. He just kind of pushed her to be better. So they worked perfectly together. It was pretty much a match made in rock and roll heaven. So of course they start working together, and then the minute they get together, they start working on the album. What is the album they started working on? In the Heat of the Night. And that is the one, that is her first album, and that is the one that contains Heartbreaker and what is that other one? We Live for Love, right? And this is one of her best-selling albums. It goes platinum. Like, it is a, they hit it out of the ballpark, right? So after this album, they're like, yep, we work well together. Like, we are the dream team. We're going to make this happen. And they continue to work together after that and come, you know, they hit after hit after hit after hit after hit. They're just cranking them out. And then, you know, and they're still keeping it very, very professional at this point. There's no hanky-panky. There's no, they're not together in any way. It is a strictly business relationship until they go on tour. And as fate would have it, they go on tour, and Neil finds out that Linda is cheating on him, and it isn't necessarily heartbroken, but, you know, of course isn't happy about it, right? Nobody's ever happy to learn that they've been cheated on. And, you know, they're on the tour bus when he finds out, and Pat is right there for him. She is trying to console him and trying to be there for him, but inside she is secretly jumping for joy because this is her shot. This is her time, right? She's just been biding her time until she could take her shot at him, and this was it. And I actually, what did she say? What did she say? In the Heat of the Night, including Son's Heartbreaker, and found out Linda was cheating on him, tried to console him, but inside she was ridiculously happy. This gave her the chance to start a relationship with him. She said she remembers thinking, it's a done deal. You are mine. She'd just been waiting. She had just been biding her time, waiting for her time to come. And it was finally here. Management definitely was not into this, though. Management was not into them being together. Now, first of all, I can understand why management would not be super keen about this. 9 times out of 10, professional relationships that turn into emotional personal relationships, they just end up absolutely destroying everything, right? And of course, management is concerned about that, but also they're concerned that it's going to affect Pat's sex appeal, right? So if you remember, like, rock and roll is all about sex appeal anyway, right? But then you have this absolutely adorable pixie looking little thing, skin tight spandex, right? The boys want her and the girls want to be her. And then if you find out that she is in a relationship, it just kind of like lowers that sex appeal, right? She has to appear available. And they were very, very concerned about that. So they ended up having to keep their relationship secret for a good long while. Yeah, fans thought she was available. Then in the winter of 1982, they took a spontaneous trip to Hawaii. And this is where Pat and Neil really start. Because they went and they took this trip. Look how beautiful that shade is, first of all. Absolutely stunning. $1 pigment, guys. $1, and it is fantastic. Anyway, so they take this trip to Hawaii, and they go to Hawaii to see a show that Neil had helped produce. And while they're in Hawaii, just kind of driving around the island, they spontaneously decide, you know what? We want to get married. So that's exactly what they do. You gotta love rock and roll because they just kind of do those sorts of things. And it's kind of par for the course. So they decide, yep, we want to get married. Today's the day. We're done waiting. We're done hiding our relationship. We're going to get married. We're going to get married today. So, but in order to get married, you have to have witnesses, right? You have to go to the courthouse and you have to sign your marriage certificate, and you have to have your witnesses present to, you know, verify the marriage. And they didn't have anybody there with them. It was just Pat and Neil. So they cruise around the entire island, and they finally come across 2 complete strangers, and they're like, will you please be our witnesses? We want to go get married. And amazingly, the strangers say, yeah, sure. You know, Hawaiian, what is that? Hawaiian, hospitality, I guess. So they say, sure, we'll be your witnesses. They hop in the car, they run on over to the magistrate's office, and they get married. So Pat and Neil get married. When did they get married? They got married. They were just driving around Maui. They got married. So the judge and the two strangers were the only other people present when they got married on February 20th, 1982. Now they're married. Now they're Mr. and Mrs. Pat Benatar, right? And happy as the day is long. Very, very happy with themselves, happy with their choice. And, you know, it was definitely the right choice to be made, as spontaneous as it was, because they're still together to this day. They have beaten the odds. And I really love talking about couples like this, especially couples that beat the odds. I love it when two people can really make it work. And that color is so, so pretty. I'm going to let that dry down just a little bit, and then we're going to go over top of that with the Beauty Bay liquid eyeshadow. So they get married. They get married with the two strangers on February 20th, and then they come home, and Pat cannot wait to shout it from the rooftops. They get home, and the first thing Pat does is pretty much rub it in everybody's face. She's like, I'm married. There's nothing you can do about it. He's mine. So she shouts it from the rooftops. They tell family, they tell friends, and they tell the media. And as unhappy as as management is about this, their fans are actually completely and totally stoked. You know, you could sense the chemistry between them, and then they get married, and it's kind of like exactly what everybody wanted to happen in the first place. So the fans are happy, they're happy, and there's really nothing that management can do about it. So they're married, they're Mr. and Mrs. now. And they continue to work together. They continue to work together and crank out hit after hit after hit. It was super spur of the moment, but a decision that lasted them a lifetime. But their honeymoon, unfortunately, was cut very, very short. Again, they got married on the island of Maui. Oh, this eyeshadow is just absolutely so pretty. You really can't blend it out because it loses its pigmentation. But that's the reason I'm putting it over top of that green base, so that metallic green can really shine from behind it. It is so, so pretty. And then I'm just going to take my brush and just kind of pat at the edges of it to blend it in just a little bit. So their honeymoon was incredibly short-lived because Pat ended up having to pack and fly back to Los Angeles for the Grammys. Now, it's a good thing she did, because that year she actually ended up winning another Grammy. She won the Grammy for Best Female Vocalist in a Rock and Roll Band. It was her second of 4 Grammys total that she's won in her lifetime, which is absolutely spectacular. And she won it for the song Fire and Ice. And the rest is pretty much history, guys. They ended up having 2 children. They had 2 girls. They had their first daughter, Haley, in 1985. They had their second daughter, Hannah, in 1994, or 1994. And then she divorced Dennis, and all that good stuff. Her nickname for Neil is Spider, which I thought was super, super cute. I always like to include the little nicknames when I can find them, just because I feel like it gives you a little bit of an inside peek as to how they really feel about each other and how they kind of talk to each other. I really feel like nicknames are one of those things that can tell you a whole lot about a relationship, or about the dynamic of a relationship. So she calls him Spider. He calls her My Patricia, which I absolutely adore. No babe, no baby, nothing super generic. It's just Patricia. She is enough. Her name is enough. Her name, he loves her so much that her name is an endearment, right? I love it. I love it. I love it. So she is My Patricia. And you guys know, I always like to end these on a little bit of a quote. So I have a good one here. This is a quote from them. It says, "We began as musical partners and that grew into a romance." It says, "Our marriage has not been without its challenges and we have not been perfect, but we work hard and we get close. The respect we have for each other as musicians and people carries us through the bumpy parts. Plus, we still dig each other like crazy, and that helps." I love it. Plus, we still dig each other like crazy, and that helps. It sure does. When you really want to be with somebody, you want to be with somebody. And there's nothing that anybody can tell you that's going to prove any different. Guys, that is today's video. I hope that you enjoyed it as much as I did. Short, sweet, pretty simple and to the point, but very, very cute nonetheless. This is what we're looking like so far. I'm going to take my my e.l.f. contour brush. I'm going to dip a little bit into this deep brown right here and kind of use this to kind of fade out this edge just a little bit, add a little bit of dimension and depth out on the outer corner. I'm going to take a pencil brush. Where did it go? I'm going to take a pencil brush and go into this really beautiful light gold, put it on the inner corner and the brow bone. And then I'm just going to put a little bit of a warm brown down on the lower lash line, add some mascara and some eyeliner, and we're going to be good to go. Of course, as always, I will be posting finished pictures over on Instagram and Facebook. Guys, make sure you follow me everywhere. I post fun content every single day. And if you're following me everywhere, you don't have to miss a single moment of it. I will, of course, list everything in the description box. All that good stuff, guys. As always, no filters, no edits, no fancy lighting. It's just me sitting in front of my camera, telling you guys a love story and doing my makeup, hoping you guys are enjoying what I'm doing. And until next time, stay safe, take care of yourselves, and remember, you're important. Bye.